What's up, guys? This is Kiel from SoCal Classic. We're back with Dean Rash. Dean, how's it going?
I'm doing great, Kel. Great to have you on a Friday. This is kind of rare, right? We don't usually get you on a Friday. Sorry to interrupt your party day, and whatever you do, I really don't need to know the details. Let's proceed with the subject at hand, shall we?
All right, what are we talking about? Porsches, resale market? What do you got?
Hey, let's just talk about prices. Price going up, price going down. What's happening in the?
If I'm an investor, it'd be good if the prices were going up. Yeah.
Well, what if you just own one car and selfishly you want to know, is this the right time to sell your car? Do we wait? Or should I buy something else? That kind of thing. What do you think? Good? Is it a good market or bad market? What do you think, Gil?
I don't know. You're the expert. So
Oh,
I would hope to say that it is a good market right now.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I think, why don't we start with just tackling the exotic car market or the European car market today. So when it comes to these beautiful exotic European cars behind me, and we have lots of them from Alfa Romeos to Porsches to Aston Martins to Lamborghinis. I think most people call that exotic cars, supercars, hypercars, depending on how fast they go. But I think the most important thing to remember in that conversation is they're all different markets. The Porsche market is very unique in comparison, say, to the Ferrari market or in comparison to an Aston Martin. Aston Martin, for example, the resale values typically head down pretty fast. They're a British car made in lovely Europe, and for whatever reason, for the 10, 15 years after they're made, they depreciate fairly rapidly. Okay, so I think what is important about people that are asking the question about what's my car worth or what's happening in the market, there are all these little markets. I wouldn't recommend an Aston Martin for the first 5 or 10 or maybe 15 years. They depreciate fairly rapidly. The same thing happens to most BMWs. The same thing happens to most Mercedes-Benzes. But anything that's a very sophisticated car that isn't specifically for a driver enthusiast, that isn't rare, is going to depreciate fairly rapidly. And the majority of the reason is, one is, first, the quantities are too large to appreciate. So demand drives the market, but also scarcity. So if we're talking about a 5 Series BMWs, they might have made 150, 200,000 last year around the globe. That's a lot of cars. And so the demand isn't there for the used car market for them to drive up the price, all right? But the other factor, and sometimes even more, a bigger factor, is the cost to repair. If you get a bi-turbo, let's say Mercedes-Benz AMG, that car is fantastic while it's under warranty. Take it back to the shop, you blow a turbo, right? Or you grenade the motor, it's all covered. Imagine driving around a 650 horsepower bi-turbo V6 out of the factory from AMG, and then you have a failure. I mean, that could cost you 30 to 40 grand.
Yeah, what a headache. Yeah.
Well, it's not just a headache. It's like, who wants to take that risk financially? So, but when we talk about other car markets, talk about the Porsches, they've done a really good job, in contrast, of driving scarcity. Like we just got a Sport Classic in the other day. It's kind of one of the ones that the Porsche guys are chasing, the Sport Classic.
There's only like 1,000, right?
Maybe less. I don't know what the numbers are, but they're 500 to 1,000. So Porsche is really good at creating all these different models like GT3 RS, GT2 RS, GT4, GT4 RS, right? Carreras, non-Carreras, 911s. So Porsche gives customers opportunities to go get a GT Touring when they want a street car, a turbo when they want performance straight ahead. Porsche's figured out how to keep the prices inflated on their vehicles. Not only that, after they, let's say 2 or 3 or 4 years, but they've also done a good job of making them so scarce when they produce them that they sell them over sticker.
What about like the market for classic Porsches?
The 993 market is very frothy. Over the last 10 years, that market's gone up overall, quite a bit. But during that 10-year period, it'll go up, it'll go down, it'll go up, it'll go down. But it's just like the stock market. You don't want to buy on the high and then sell on the low. You just have to stay in there for years, and you'll see a good return on investment. So older Porsches, as a rule, do extremely well. If we're talking Porsches in the 50s and 60s and 70s for the most part. I mean, let's look at some of the original 356s. Some of those, like the Speedsters, are in the $400,000, $500,000 category. So they've gone up quite a bit in the last 10 years. Beauty about Porsche is if you want a car to drive as an enthusiast and push the car, they've got one for you. And if you want to assure reasonable returns on investment, they've got one for you. They will depreciate brand new, like a lot of other cars, so nobody should be misled into believing that they don't. But the one thing we haven't talked about is, what if we bought an Aston Martin or an Alfa Romeo or one of these kind of off-brand cars? Maserati, that's another example. Depreciate rapidly. After 10, 15 years, not worth a lot. Plenty of them out on the market. But you know what? That's a great way to get a high-performance car at a very reasonable price. You could look at this two ways, right? There's a lot of really nice DB7s, DB8s, DB9s in the Aston Martin family out there on the market for very reasonable prices. So it really depends on if you're looking for a car from an investment standpoint or if you're looking to enjoy a car. So that's a key difference when you purchase cars or when you're considering cars. But overall, these markets are totally different for all these cars. Lamborghinis have seen a pretty good return on investment, especially cars like the Aventador, especially 720s and the Performantes. So you want to, with any of these high-performance brands that are European cars, find the high-performance cars, limited production, and then typically you'll be okay. But if the brand depreciates rapidly across the board and you're really worried about your investment, I wouldn't advise that if that's really important to you, right?
Right. So on the classic Porsche side, it's a good investment besides the 993, which it's like the Bitcoin of Porsches.
Oh, great analogy. I like that, Kel. But here we go with the Bitcoin discussion
I'm a Bitcoin
again.
guy. You know how it is.
Oh man, I'll tell you what. Anyway, no, it's a great corollary. It does go up and down, but overall, it's gone up like Bitcoin over the last 5 years, and you can't get hurt. 912s are good investments. Older 911s, 356s, air cooled anything is generally a great investment, and people are chasing those like crazy. So, but again, Porsche has a unique market. We didn't talk much about Ferraris, another great market, right? 488s are really a great car. Now we're talking about 5 to 10 years old for those vehicles, but great cars. The 458 has gone up quite a bit over the last 5 years. A lot of people want those cars. It's naturally aspirated, right? There's nothing to not love about that car. But the 430 Ferrari before that 458, it was kind of the first high performance Ferrari car. So you'll find some things like the interior that are a little bit not in line with expectations, and certainly the performance wasn't quite there. So Ferrari overall, the performance perspective has been really on point since the 458. But again, depends on what car you buy, what the quantity is, and whether it's appreciated or not. But it's not like buying a Porsche. I think the Porsche market is much more nuanced and probably a better investment. But if you bought an Especial or some special model of a 458 or a 430 or a 488, then you've done well because there's limited quantity. So scarcity and demand drive the market for these hyper super performance cars that are in the European space.